Welcome to video 3 of my Disney video series where we look at different things about Disney, about Walt, about his parks, and try to apply those principles to ourselves. And this week, my question is, what do you do when you can't do what you want to do? Let me explain. When you think about Walt Disney World, most people go straight to the castle. Most people think about the Magic Kingdom and the magic that happens there and the excitement you feel when you first step down Main Street and you look at the castle and all the different Disney movies you get to experience while you're there. You get to ride Peter Pan and the Mine Train and all those things. And that's what most people think about. But what most people don't realize is that the Magic Kingdom was not the most exciting thing to Walt. That was not what he was building Disney World for. That may come as a shock. So the question is, what was it? What was the thing that Walt was most excited about? Well, I'll let him explain it to you himself.
Right now, our plans include an airport of the future down here in Osceola County, an entrance complex where all visitors will enter Disney World, an industrial park area covering about 1,000 acres, and of course the theme park area way up here. And all these varied activities around the Disney World will be tied together by a high-speed rapid transit system running almost the full length of the property. But the most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow. We call it Epcot, spelled E-P-C-O-T, Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
So the thing that Walt was most excited about was Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Band director, when I was in high school, he used to say that it was every person comes out tired just because the amount of walking you had to do. I always found that funny. But it's the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And that was Walt's big vision for Epcot, his big vision for Walt Disney World itself. It was going to be the heart of Disney World. And what Epcot was going to consist of, it was this big community where people from all over the world were going to come together to live in this area. It was going to be a hub of innovation. Walt wanted to be almost a World's Fair for Florida. If you're familiar with the World's Fair in New York, you have the big Earth there. That's kind of the center of it. Even in the 1980s, when Knoxville, Tennessee hosted the World's Fair, they had an orb that they built for it. Walt, he wanted his own sphere as well. So at the very center of Epcot was going to be that sphere, which is the sphere you see today. And that's why it's there. It's a kind of cousin of the World's Fair. But innovation would take place. People from all the world would live there. It'd be a place where innovation would take place, all the newest technologies. It would be a place of conservation for energy, a place for conservation of nature. All kinds of things were going to happen at Walt Disney World. And he was so excited about Epcot that there's actually a story where the night before he passed away, he was actually going over Epcot ideas with his brother Roy just hours before he passed. That's how excited Walt was about Epcot. The problem is, when Walt passed away, the vision of Epcot kind of went with him. He had this big vision, this big idea for a city, and when he passed away and Roy decided that he wanted to take over the Disney project in Florida in honor of his brother, he just looked at Epcot and said, I don't know how to build a city. I don't know how to do this. But what I do know is how to build a park. So what I'm showing you now is the big view of what Walt's Epcot looked like compared to what it actually looked like when it opened. The map of, at least, what it looked like when it opened in 1982. Now, if you'll notice, it doesn't look anything like the original plan because Roy didn't know how to build a city, but they knew how to build a park. And so what they did is they actually took the different ideas that Walt had and turned them into sections of a park. So if you look at the left side of the map, you have horizons, you have energy, the universe and energy. You have all these different areas that were actually built to tell the story of progress, to tell the story of innovation. Of course, Spaceship Earth, that ride does that as well. On the right side of the map, you have the sea, you have the land. Those places were all about conservation. The dream with Epcot is that they would actually create their own food, and they still do that to this day, is a lot of the food from the parks, a lot of the vegetables and things like that comes from Epcot. They built their own way of making food. The sea, it's all about conservation of the oceans and the rivers and the seas. That's what it's all about. In the middle, around Spaceship Earth, you have 2 innovation areas. That was where all the technology from around the world was going to come together, kind of be the showcase of technology and what was coming in the near future in terms of human progress. And then at the very top of the map is what's known as the World Showcase. So the idea of Epcot is people from all around the world would be able to come together in this one spot. And so what they did is they created the World Showcase, where they have different aspects of the world coming together in this area. So you have a Germany pavilion, an Italy pavilion, you have a Japan and France pavilions. So that's how they would come together. And so that's why Epcot looks like the way it does today. It's different than Walt's original version, his original vision, but they kept the spirit of that vision together in that park. So here again, I'm going to go back to our question is, what do you do when you can't do what you want to do? So they had a vision for the city, but Roy didn't know how to build a city. He couldn't do what he wanted to do. But what he did is he could at least, at minimum, keep the spirit of those ideas alive. And so he took what he knew he could do and made the best version of it possible. He knew he could build a park. And so he took that idea and put the spirit into what Epcot is today. And even now it's still evolving. Even now it's changing. They have all the updates that are taking place that we're real excited for, especially looking forward to the Mary Poppins ride whenever it finally opens, but that's a side thing. So what did Roy do when he couldn't do what he wanted to do? He adapted. He changed. He didn't give up. He didn't just say, oh, I can't do this, and then stop just all completely and quit. No, he took the skills that he knew he had and kept the spirit alive by using his gifts, his talents, his abilities to create Walt's vision the best way possible. So that's my challenge to you, is don't give up. Whenever you come across something that you can't do what you want to do, get creative. Find ways to work around it. Find ways where you can use what you have, your talents, your abilities, your passions, to adapt to that obstacle, to maybe create, maybe it's not your full vision, but maybe you can keep the spirit of that vision alive. Figure it out. Adapt. Learn from Epcot. It's still a fantastic park. And whatever vision you have, whatever thing you want to do can still be great, even if it's not necessarily the most full your vision can be. So my challenge to you is don't quit, adapt. I'll see you next week in next week's video.